The FJ40 roared through the mud, the rain pounding on the windshield as Duckman squawked in frustration, yanking the wheel to keep them from sliding off the trail. Quack. Beanfield. Do you quack? Remember that night at Queenie's bar? The night Kurt and his gang showed up? Beanfield, wiping mud off his sunglasses, leaned back in his seat. How could I forget? It was chaos. What made you think of that? Duckman shrugged his feathery shoulders, feathers glistening with raindrops. Quack! Mud always reminds me of Kurt. He's as thick-headed as a quack in mud pit, and that was the night Sean got hit with the pickle. Beanfield chuckled. Oh yeah, Dino Goat was behind that. But didn't it start with you and Kurt arguing over whose RC car was faster? Duckman quacked indignantly. I don't argue. I debate with passion. Anyway, Kurt Quack started it. The memory unfolded as the FJ40 bounced through the mud, carrying them back in time. It had been a lively night at Queenie's bar. The air was thick with cigarette smoke, the jukebox hummed, and the clinking of billiard balls echoed through the room. Dirk, as usual, was leaning against the jukebox, silently observing with a grin that suggested he was enjoying the show. Brad and Dennis were seated at a rickety table, locked in a fierce game of Texas Hold'em. The stakes? A cold glass of milk that Brad had smugly ordered, daring Dennis to put his own on the line. At the bar, Redneck sipped on a gin and juice, his laughter booming every now and then, while Guru, sitting nearby, quietly puffed on a doobie, looking wise and uninterested in the commotion. Duckman and Kurt were nose to beak in a heated argument near the pool table. Kurt, a towering 6'6" beast of a man with muscles that seemed carved from stone, gestured wildly as he explained why his RC car could outstrip anything Duckman owned. Kurt's gang stood around him. Tank, the brawny right-hand man, Keegan, the lanky but wiry fellow, and Eric, John Martin, and Mitchell, who were chiming in with laughs and nods of agreement. Maggie, in her golden retriever form, sat near Beanfield, occasionally wagging her tail but keeping an eye on Dino Goat, who was sniffing around the bar's floor like he was on a treasure hunt. Things escalated quickly. Duckman's quacking grew louder as Kurt called him a yellow-feathered joke, and before anyone could stop it, Tank and Keegan squared up with Beanfield. Boys, Beanfield said, cracking his knuckles, I'm an 8th degree black belt in ninjutsu. You sure about this? Tank lunged, but Beanfield sidestepped effortlessly, landing a spinning kick that sent the big man stumbling into a table. Keegan tried his luck, throwing a wild punch, but Beanfield grabbed his arm, flipped him over, and sent him sliding across the floor into Brad and Dennis's poker table. The milk spilled. Now you've done it, Brad yelled. Dennis just shook his head, muttering, that was the last glass. Meanwhile, Dino Goat had found a half-eaten pickle on the floor. Josh, the local police officer who'd stopped by for a quiet drink, leaned over and pulled Dino Goat's tail playfully. Hey, what you got there, buddy? Dino Goat bleated indignantly, whipped his head around, and launched the pickle into the air. It spun like a missile, hitting Sean square in the forehead. Sean, who absolutely despised pickles, stood up and yelled, Who throws a pickle? His outburst drew laughter from every corner of the bar. The chaos reached its peak as Maggie, glowing green, transformed into her gorilla form. She let out a roar that shook the walls, grabbing everyone's attention. Holding up a pool cue like a scepter, she pointed it at Duckman, Beanfield, and Kurt. That's enough, she bellowed. Everyone froze. Duckman squawked in protest but stopped when Maggie's gorilla eyes narrowed at him. With tensions diffused, Queenie, the bartender with striking black and green hair, leaned over the counter and smirked. All right, boys, settle down. If you're going to wreck the place, at least pay for it first. Kurt shrugged sheepishly, picking up a pool stick. All right, truce. Let's see who's better at darts instead of fists. And so the night ended with Duckman, Beanfield, Kurt, and the gang playing pool and darts, while Brad and Dennis bickered over who owed who a fresh glass of milk.